kind of like us just chatting like this as we come on.
That's good.
We're probably on in 2 seconds. Wait a minute, it's going slow. All right. We're good. We're good to go. Just chatting like this is, yeah, we definitely got ourselves. Go
To
for
the
it, Liz.
moon. Oh, welcome everyone as we come on just in our little chit chat way. Don't you find that that can happen to you? You're just in a moment, and then all of a sudden you need to be somewhere else. Welcome to CreateAWorld. It's so good to be with each other and all of you who are able to join us live, and those of you who listen in later. For those of you that may be new, we're gaining new visibility in the world, and we want to especially welcome you and invite you into your own curiosity of what it is to be in conversation with your own thinking and with sharing with others in your fields. We are a group of collaborators that use conversation to awaken and open us up into the more of ourselves, into knowing that we're a part of everything, and everything is also a part of us, that we're always moving into the next greater whole of our own being and our global beingness, and that as things are going out of existence, we're also able to be with what is coming in and be a part of what we would love our realities to be. So our conversations here are about inviting the littlest of things, whether it's the simple kindness or the awakening of our planet to living in integrated unity with one another and with all sentient beings, being in relationship. And I think that's part of what we were chit-chatting about before we went live this morning. So I just invite you to consider, how are you in relationship to yourself, to other human beings, and to all sentient beings in the natural world? And how do you celebrate that? What does that invite for any of you guys to kind of open up the conversation today?
I think I'll do a feeling one. So my daughter has strep. She didn't know it last night. And so I noticed about 1:20 in the morning that Kevin was, her dog was, which I was looking after, was at the back, sliding doors, just watching this, looking out, except you can't look out because the door has a screen on it. And then I woke up, I noticed she texted me at 1:50, he was still looking for her. And at 4:30, he finally came and crawled into bed when she'd gotten home from the from the emergency room, where she found out she had strep throat. So that the reason I want to start with that is, I suppose in some ways radical, but it is my experience that the sentient intelligence is reknitting itself, and the relational fields between, in this case, a primordial being and a human being are returning to not just two objects in relationship, which is an objectified field, but really true that, like, if we really think about it, we're so opinionated as humanity. We're so, by the way, the minute I started sharing, he was on my foot. And then once he knew that his part was done, he went and laid down on my pillow. But the point I want to make is kind of radical, except that those of you that know me, I've never wavered from this trajectory. And that was one of the things I was thinking about, us talking about individually, and for people to consider for themselves. where are they in their trajectory? And a lot of people don't have trajectories, but I do. And I know you three do also. And but my knowing is that intimacy and affinity that comes from a human being restoring his or her or their capacity to be part of the natural world, to be part of the invisible worlds, to be part of the affinity of life itself, the friendship of life, the intimacy of life. I'm really actually watching happen. I'm actually watching it happen. And then just the other thing I want to add, because I'm not going to get off the topic until everybody has the experience. That also includes the invisible worlds of it. We talked about earlier, everybody, about what I can't believe is like starting the whole call like that. What I can't believe is, and I've always been bothered by it, but until this kind of events have been happening to me, I didn't have language for what was bothering me. And that I've always been bothered about how we consider emotions conditions. We considered attitudes conditions, behavioral issues, or behavioral attributes. And I've never known the emotions or the sensations or the feelings or the imaginations to be that. They've all been part of a living field. So if it's on my journal entry on my website that's under maintenance, but I really am now aware that one of the affinities that's come back, affinity for this conversation means friendship, means friendship, being befriended by, and befriending, and that I pretty much continually have an event of little luminous beings around my solar plexus, uh, tending to things, sort of like housekeepers. It's the best way I can describe it. And that they definitely elicit a feel state of tenderness, or like energy feels, not like conditions or behaviors um, or attitudes, or independent of the unified field of which we're a part. And I want to start at that level of what we might call extreme, because it means something's reknitting itself in the fabric of the isolation that humanity has been in with the invisible worlds and the natural world. And on that, I will rest my case.
Okay, I'm just going to go into an experience I had last night um, because it was very sentient. I invited myself and my partner Steve to a Halloween event because I love, the whole amazing time we're in, where the veils are thin, etc. And one of my dear friends, I'm a Girl Scout director, camp director with her. I've known her for over 20 years, and she lives on this what we call here in California an unincorporated block. So all the neighbors had to pay for the street and the street to be repaved, and there are no lights on the street. So not a lot of trick-or-treaters come by. But now there's been a resurgence of families moving in with children. So my friends host a block party for Halloween. And I said, oh, that would be really fun. Well, I didn't realize what I was walking into. It was incredible. And when you said intimacy, Tantra, that's what I felt because I don't know, there were probably 15 of us there, 15, 20, um, and four children uh, coming in and out because they were trick or treating. But uh, my friend's block is very diverse in culture. So there were three families from other countries uh, that were there, and we're all sitting and having a meal around the bonfire, and it just felt so intimate with people I didn't even know. And Steve really enjoyed it. He picked up a conversation with somebody who worked for our electric company, or no, our our water company. Sorry, I get them mixed up. And then we had my friend Mary's dog who sat on this camping chair and was the queen of the party, everybody coming and just being with her and petting her, and she was in seventh heaven. And it was like she was part of the conversation. And granted, she didn't say a word, but it was I'm feeling the sentience of it this morning, because with that bonfire and us gathering, this it's special. It's I think what's beginning to reoccur, um this coming together of humans just for the sake of being with each other, because I didn't know any of these people, and they were all so kind, and um just you could tell everyone was just craving just to be with others, quote, in the field, as we say. And I felt such a comfort. And it was fun too. We each had different costumes on. And so I have a little dragon costume. Of course, it's a onesie. And then a friend of ours came from another block, and she was dressed as the greatest showman. And so Mary, my friend, got the idea to, oh, let's put music on from each of, let's find music for each of our outfits. And so we put on the greatest showman, and then they put on Imagine Dragons music for mine, and then they um and so each person, then we did YMCA because we had construction workers, and I mean, and all this just came, organically. And so just to have this experience, this synchronistic, what I call synchronistic experience, serendipitous experience, was just so, well, comforting. That's what I keep going back to, comforting, and it just happy making. Um, that's, it's part of my nature to be with the we, right? And there I mean, I was definitely led to that experience, to have that cohesive experience of a little snippet of humanity just being together for the sake of being together and enjoying. So that's in my corner of the world. And that's magic, right? That is just magic. Who's next?
I've always had a very intimate relationship with animals of all shapes and kinds. Um, every once in a while, when people will say, "Well, who do you like better, animals or people?" Depends which animals and which people. But a number of years, gosh, I mean, it's been over 20 years, maybe 25 by now. Um, I somehow discovered the book Animal Speak by Ted Andrews. And my paperback copy has definitely seen seen mileage. Everything's, the cover's peeling and the pages are all bent, and because it's definitely the book that I go to frequently. And it contains a dictionary that says what various animals might be representing in your life. And so all of a sudden in the last couple of weeks, dragonflies have showed up again. And last night when I was walking my dog, I got buzzed by one that was a just really big, fat dragonfly. And among other things, they represent the return of the light. And I thought, well, that's appropriate as as we're on Halloween and moving into the Day of the Dead, and then moving into the darker times of the year for then the light to come back. But they also can be suggestive of 2-year cycles, either starting or finishing. And so I'm percolating about what that might be for me. And it's been a while since I've seen dragonflies. So I feel like that's probably an indication that there's a 2-year cycle that's coming to a close. Yesterday marked my 1-year anniversary of my last day of working for the public schools. And I can't believe that a year has already gone by already. But I continue to do some work sort of adjacent to the public school system in terms of supporting a series of teaching tools that I supported directly when I was working. But those teaching tools are really all about helping students, all students, not just those for whom school seems to come easily, but all students can connect with what they're learning in a more meaningful way. And one of the things that struck me so much when I first got involved with this organization, and I had the opportunity to go to a national conference where I was able to meet some of the creators of these tools, is just to a person how much they all believed that all kids could learn. And there's something about the way that those teaching tools then carry that imprint. And thus they have impact in a way that nothing else I ever saw in my 35 years of teaching had impact. And so I think there's something to be said for recognizing sentience where we don't necessarily recognize sentience. I mean, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, do you think a series of, teaching tools and graphic organizers could be sentient? I would have said, no, it's ridiculous. And yet I feel like I've experienced their sentience. And so then it makes me curious about what else out there might be sentient that I've not acknowledged in that. And I feel like that's part of what we're talking about. And when you hear Tantra talk about things coming back online, and looking at what our relationships are with each other and with the world. It's an opportunity to look at and consider the fact that every single thing that we interact with in any way, shape, or form, there's a relationship there. We haven't necessarily thought about the fact that there's an actual relationship or articulated that there's a relationship, but if we're interacting with it in some way, there is relationship. And so then, what is the relational field that then is available to us when we choose how we interact?
I just want to add one piece to that. Maybe I'll get emotional. It's really weird being a mystic and a seer and a prophetess. I know it's weird to be other things too, but in my corner, it's really weird. And one of the things that I can't put into language is I came with imprints of, I don't even know how to frame it. Like these moments in time, if those moments in time happened, then the trajectory of humanity evolving out of the crisis it had found itself in would be, I don't know the word, would be viable. I think that's the word, would be more and more viable. And when we were on our gathering in the field of Tantra Mutt call, I don't even know how to explain that the deep profundity of having a sentient, that's what you really triggered me about that, Janice. I didn't have any mental idea. I didn't know what it'd look like. I didn't even have a way, as you all know, to explain it, really. But that's sent to register, to be able to register that imprint on that call Wednesday night as part of the trajectory of what many human beings want, which is to restore our relational fields with paradise in my language. And then just now, Janice, when you I wrote this piece yesterday after it was the first day after I got the NAD infusion. I'll say something about that later. But I Christy, who's another doctor in the Magician of Self class, um, asked me how I was. I said, I just wrote a 26-page ebook. It took me 7 hours and I never left the sofa. But it was about the experience of things coming together, which was the things I felt were really coming together. And that I had language to lay it all out. I laid it out as an ebook for the general public. Now I'm futzing around with my brain, but I'm going to tell you why I'm futzing around with my brain. One of the hardest things, I think, for people who have kind of an eternal timeline or eternal trajectory or have a longer visionary trajectory than just one lifetime is you don't want to, I guess it goes back to kind of an insulting way to say you don't want to put pearls before swine, but I don't mean it that way. You don't want to provide information that I noticed this. I really love this ebook I wrote. For me, it's exhilarating, it's life enhancing, it's exciting. It points to the trajectory of the spirit and flesh coming back together, that our innate magic coming back online. But the first person I gave to read it edited it. And it just broke my heart. And that's sentience. It just hurt. They didn't hurt me, but it hurt because the fact that I could bring something to language because it was now so is really the good news chariots coming. And so there's this tenderness, I think, that I don't know how to bring to words, except for the fact that we can be tender again, like what Liz talked about. The affinity is rising again. And we've just been under such a spell of futility and just doing what we can do because the world we remember in our dreams didn't seem to be apparent. And it's I don't know, I don't have any further to go with than that, except what you shared, Genesis. Oh, somebody else is present in the listening, of which has the so above, so below have existence here in the physical world. And that's about as far as I can go. But I want to note it. It's like I said on the gathering call. I'm just going to keep noting things because if I note them, they'll get a place. And if they get a place, they can find the address. and and I want everything that was taken from us to come home.
So Language. I love language. Well, each of you were bringing forth, I keep hearing in a different configuration with each conversation. I keep hearing hidden realms, hidden figures. And like I just keep hearing that over and over again. And it just, I don't know that I can say anymore, but I feel like it's one of those moments where sentience brings more conversation in relationship with others. So if there's a ping for you guys, please like bring it in, and then maybe I'll have more into it too. But that's my that's mine.
Makes me think of all of the children's books and movies and fairy tales and stories out there about what children can see because they're still connected. They haven't forgotten, you know, what they knew coming in about who else is with us and what else is with us in this, even in this current temporal reality. And then what sometimes adults then are once again able to see when they get back in touch with that wholeness in themselves. I think the movie was called If, that I saw a number of months ago about, you know, invisible friends and how adults would forget about them. And this was a project to help the adults remember and reconnect so that they could then be with their ifs again. And so I do feel like that's all part of what's rising, because why would we be here if life wasn't meant to be magical? There's just really no other reason to be here, in my opinion.
I love that. I mean, you're right in my realm. I was just thinking about this adorable Asian woman last night, dressed like a ladybug. You know, there was an innocence, a revitalized innocence to these people. You know, you could tell there was this a little bit of shyness there, right? And here I am in this dragon thing, and then it started to get cold, and I had my fox head hat, and I put that on, and everybody just started cracking up. Uh, you know, it just, yeah, it's it's a revitalization of 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 just being. And I know people could feel that magic, you know. Um, yeah, it is hard. It's still hard to language. I'm going to, but I do. I felt a very, very deep, a deep, the word is download from our gathering call. There was a refinement, uh, um, and a sacred grace that seemed to be infused in that call. And I thought, okay, something's downloaded now. Um, as far as the depth and sentience of community and community sharing. it was like we were gathered around the fire, but there was so much um, substance substance to the interactions that was, we couldn't see each other, but boy, I sure could feel everyone. Um, and that's as far as I can get with it. But I just felt something take hold, I guess, in that gathering call, as well as last night too. Something was given a place, definitely in both experiences. And I think just for me, just the richness of being, um, with nothing other than no agenda other than being was given a place.
I think I want to add, I think we're experiencing a return to innocence, just like the song, because intimacy, vulnerability, affinity, there has to be an internal safety that may not be like the shyness of personality, or dare that I be this way in this world. But that I do think the ether of innocence is rising in the human psyche again. And I think it's hard for us to remember. And of course, it's what draws me back here all the time to this planet and her forms, is that this planet is based on innocence. It's not based on being vile or vicious or ugly. Why else would soldiers get PTSD if killing was natural? And to be honest about it, I can't believe it, even though I'm the one that's talked about it for 50 years as a psychic. That part of me that just hoped it'd be true, the personality part. It's just pretty wild. I want to share with you all right now, Jess is on the other side of the computer. She leaves tomorrow to go back home to watch her bubby. But we have this butterfly picture above our fireplace. And what she's doing is these mandalas that she's had for years. She's framing them. So we'll have the butterfly pictures with the mandalas on either side of it. And, uh, you know, it's just been so much fun to have her here because her foundational self is a lot like yours, Liz, creative play. And for someone who's as mentally oriented as me and purposeful as me, I've gotten to have my playful child come back again. So it's been lovely. It's really been lovely. That's it for now. Just one thing, I'm having to text my daughter. She has strep. And so I'm monitoring getting food and drugs and things to her so that's why I'm looking down at my phone while we're doing this. Take care.
I mean, can we possibly believe that some of us have come in this lifetime to sow these seeds of innocence? I know that's part of why I came back. Definitely, because it's part of my soul mission. It's my soul thread that I carry is this innocence. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that, Liz, because it's bringing me present to the degree to which that's true for me as well. And yet I often don't think of it that way because what I tend to experience, like for instance, the years that I work in the school systems and I would see these things that just felt wrong. They felt off. And I am the person who says in a meeting out loud what everybody else is thinking. But but I forget that that does in fact come from a place of innocence, because it's this knowing that really we are meant to be in the relational fields of love and joy, and so when things happen that are not that, then that, to me, that means they're off from how things are meant to be on this planet. And so then my desire to speak, to be able to bring back in those fields of love and joy, and honor of each other's uniqueness and thus beauty, that really that does come from a place of innocence and a remembering of the, you know, what humanity is really designed to be.
And if it goes to what you were just sharing about what is that sentience that made that program for all children are able to learn, is it seems to me that it cares for innocence, cares for the innocent, that no one is guilty of not being able. Blah.
Right.
Yeah. It reminds me of and yeah, Janice, you and I share that. I feel I just saw an image. I got a vision of me being like a little drill in the educational system, and I see you that way too. We're just like drilling these little holes into the system. But it reminds me now of I'm honoring this. A very good friend of mine, her father created this amazingly simple but very effective science program called Science on a Shoestring. And he was a science educator here in California. And I loved it because literally a shoebox, right, with very not much in there. And from there, the creativity of opening up the world of science to children was born. And it was a really effective science curriculum that we used until, you know, the textbook companies got a hold of us. So, yeah, it's nice to remember that because I loved his program. And that was before I didn't even know that it was one of my good camp friends. It was her dad that had that had created that program. So, and that was a sentient, like you said. I mean, it was very sentient because of the way that the materials were utilized and the creativity that came uh, from looking in those shoe boxes and uh, you know, being very unique. Each child was very unique in how they used the materials. I mean, how perfect is that? You know, it's like giving a kid a cardboard box, right? What are they going to do with it? That's one of the best toys on the planet. Still, for me, I love them.
So do kitty cats.
Yes, yes, my cats love them. Yes.
I, I'm so appreciating how this conversation is opening up different sentience within us. And Janice, what you were saying as a kid, not seeing the world and how people were viewing, and it's like that's not how it goes. That's the way it was for me too. And and what it brought for me is that the sense of innocence for me is being organic. I'm very organically oriented, and what I've been noticing in this little group of people that have come to play with me around food, it's 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 the innocence of me as an adult that just gets to pour love through food into the world. And I get fed, I get nourished in a way that nobody even, it's like it's this little hidden realm of my own that that I get to have a place where I can make what seems for many people to be such a complex experience. I can just make it playful, simple, fun, curious, and I don't think I really connected the dots of my organic nature is innocently opened up through this particular realm. And I mean, I'm just like, who knew? Who knew? What you can't believe. This is one of those, I just can't believe that I could say, oh, bring some vegetables and we're going to get in relationship with them. Right? And each one of us will discover our own relationship to it. And next time it will be whatever else. And who knew this past one we just did, who knew that you could heat coconut milk and you could see its shining essence, and how its shining essence of what coconut milk is could bring a flavor to ourselves. Who knew that it could add so much more? It's not just the recipe or the doing, it's the, oh, you get to see it come alive. And that's organic innocence for me. So there's my hidden realm revealed.
And
Just gotta laugh because I until this minute I forgot, but I can obviously I work on Sunday, so I didn't get to participate, but I couldn't believe how eager I was to see the video. I mean, that is just not something I would expect of myself, you know? And so I think one of the themes here is maybe expect the unexpected, like like that party you went to, Liz,
mhm.
and the that's just really funny. It's just really funny to realize that I really was, and I forgot to go back and find it, so I'll make sure I get it now. But it's something about what it points to, that there are new attractors. The two other things I just want to say is this word called an order to, 3 words. It's a different thing in the modality of realities of separation. We do things in order to get somewhere. In natural worlds, we find ourselves being there. And so we really are in some return of the natural world. And I mean the natural world, not nature, but the natural world. And the other thing I was thinking about, Liz and I do sphere work with this community called Dom and Her, and their first or second, actually, their second constitutional instruction, like we have the Bill of Rights, you know, their second constitutional instruction is basically the antidote for that which is aberrated from the natural state of life, that you bring happiness, joy, excitement, freedom, and but you can't do it like in order to. It's more about giving it a place where it does become a natural antidote. It does become a natural antidote for the changes and the collapses and the things that have been fighting for the right to use up human life for a long time. And I think that's the magic I want to bring to the call. Point out. And the call, it seems odd. I mean, not to me, but it could look odd that we're talking about return to innocence and food and, the magic of animals and dragons with fox heads on them, but but it's something going on at such a deep root level that we're not missing it. We're not doing it in order to survive the circumstances that are definitely occurring during this time. There's just some root remembrance and recall that's coming back during this time that, I'm aware I talked about the last 50 years, but again, it's like it really is extraordinary to live it. I just want to say and at the same time, you know, somebody just edited this book I was so proud of, and it broke my heart. But that's an act of innocence too. That's an act of being real and vulnerable and had nothing to do with the person. They're trying to help out, but that raw heart that we haven't had the ability to exist as for a long time. I feel it rising.
Definitely. Yeah, I as you were speaking, Victoria, yes, I found myself in this group, and I could literally see these tendrils of what you carry come through my computer screen and into my dish. I mean, and Steve and I have been enjoying the meal all week, and every time we reheat it, it gets better. So this is something I've always been attracted to within you. This, you call it what is it, mystical cooking with the mystic, and that's what it is. uh and just something also about the gathering of others. I felt like we were literally in the same kitchen, preparing this, and everybody was just, I mean, their voices were just full of delight. And and you have brought an ease for me in cooking. Almost every time I create a soup of some sort, I think of you, and I bring that into my cooking. And of course, that brings the joy. And there definitely is an ether there that is different from me. Even, okay, I made chili last night, but it wasn't the same, because I was in a hurry, kind of. So it wasn't the same. And there was this relaxation and this joy of just cutting things up, and everything happened in such a beautiful, it was just easy. There was a lot of ease to it, and just a joy of cutting things up, etc. That, when I do have the time, that you're with me every time I make something like that, um, in that realm. Uh, I mean, I did enjoy making the chili yesterday, but it wasn't the same, as really looking in depth at each ingredient, and especially I love the shining of the coconut milk. It's just, and the blending of these flavors. So yeah, definitely. I'm loving your realm. It's a lot of fun. You're muted.
I tried to hit that button. Thank you so much, Liz. There's such a, like, this is that innocence that comes through with each other in how we are in relationship, how we feed each other. Um, and I feel that's where community, when I observe the greater world, I see these little tendrils, like you said. I see these little tendrils of how we want to feed each other, and be fed by each other is rising. And I just happen to have a realm that wants to do it with food, you know. And you don't have to be a chef to be in your innocent relationship with food. You just have to go for the joy of whatever it is that is your field. Like Janice, you and the animals. the joy it is to be in relationship. I mean, we all have our places where we bring the shining forward. So yeah, thanks.
I just had an immediate moment of now. So just in the story of the ebook. So what happened is I had a client that did I think she's done every activation, but she did a particular one and wrote me an email asking me a list of questions. And I wrote her back and I said, I can't answer them. It's too broad a spectrum. I can't answer them in a simple email. There's just no way. So yesterday when I woke up, I had the spectrum. And I dedicated that ebook to her. I had the whole thing, and I just got a text from her that said, she said, I now totally understand what has happened in my consciousness. And yesterday I kept thinking I was driven to do it, but why I'm bringing it up is just to bring new perception in. What you're all were talking about, Victoria and Liz, about that relational field. When you start to be tugged by the relational field, that's a whole nother kind of world than trying to solve a problem. Like tug to watch the video, tug to it's just different, like you said, it's just different in the relational field than it is in an objectified reality that's trying to figure out how you put the Legos together, And so this is the part, and I really appreciate this conversation. I was thinking again, because I definitely have something going on, probably not a lot of people will be drawn to this conversation. But then they're the ones that will. And I mean literally the ones that will. And that goes back, here I go again. That goes back to how this all started when we all met, and it all came out of this event I had when I was 16, when I was yelling at God and said, if you're real, prove it. And the engine fell out of my father's station wagon. I mean, and I heard a voice, and the voice said, take good care of the people. I'll never tell you what people, but you need touch only one. And that's in your cooking class, and that's in your work, your work you're doing with keeping education alive for children. And that's in my one client that I couldn't answer her question without giving her the whole world of it. And then to have it, all know how much I love to write, not. And then to actually sit down for 7 hours, loving every bit of being able to give her the full spectrum within what her questions were occurring. That is a unified field. That is what realities of unity occur at, what you call synchronicity, Liz, which is synchronicity. But I think one of the struggles, I don't know about you all, but one of the struggles we're having is we're in dead language. We're actually in dead language. So while we have an experience of synchronicity to describe something, I can feel all of us eager to get to language that connects something. Do you know what I'm saying? And we just have to have tolerance. We don't have to, but I would recommend, which I'm not having, by the way, just so we can be clear. I am not the one that should be having this conversation. I have no tolerance for dead language at all, but I can feel us struggling for the animation of it. Over to you, Victoria.
I was listening to an audiobook, and it was this idea that the times that we're in now, our language is occurring through imagery, through sentience. Computers communicate different than spoken word. Even the ChatGPT stuff is relational, that it is not the dead language kind of experience. And they talked about it from the science of it as the language that we're in now via computers and imagery to bring us awakened is actually opening up the right hemisphere of the brain. And therefore, our linear world that we have been bombarded by for centuries now is beginning to draw the balance of the right brain thinking. So we're this whole idea of masculine and feminine coming together. It's happening via the computer world of language. And I thought, how interesting is that? That because we have to manipulate with our hands on the keyboard, two hands on the keyboard, and that men are doing this and women are doing this now. It's not just the women typing, that our whole culture is under a transformation of our brain wave patterning, and that we don't, as a general rule, even recognize it. Here's another hidden realm, hidden figure moment popped into our conversation. So thank you for like pinging me that that's so important for us to like to be aware of in how we're in relationship with our communication world. So maybe we're not so dead after all. It's rising.
Love that. I love that, bringing in the, I, that's it's just this, that could be a whole hour right there talking about communication and gender, right? I mean, you just brought up a whole nother realm there. We were having that conversation um, recently about how the women had to take typing, so that's, yeah, a whole nother, a whole, I love that. And you made me lose let's see, you didn't make me. I just lost what I was going to say. So I'm going to see if I can get it back. Somebody else.
We're almost at the top of the hour. We got 3 minutes, so we might want to just do a one-liner for each of us, just what we got out of this. I mean, there's no sense doing this if we aren't having a good time. So I'm really glad I came on today because it seems to me my experience is the closer I get to re-feel worlds that are lost that I remember with such heartfelt passion. And then one thing happens, it seems to make them go away again, and I start crying. But then I come on here and realize that's a fantasy. We're just moving through an amorphic period of time where something's rising. That's it for me.
And I love being able to come on and be fed by the animate world that we all live in and the creation of animate realms. That's another reason why we're all here. So, uh, to be able to be steeped in that, just like we're steeped in that beautiful coconut milk, right? And steeped in the world of animals, etc. Um, and then to be fed by that is such a gift. So thank you to everyone here.
And Victoria, as I am in a place of making some decisions about what I'm going to do next with my work in the world, your question, how do I want to feed people and to be fed, is such a great way of capturing that exploration for me. So thank you.
I guess I'll close this out. I'm so appreciating the conversation, stirring up that the hidden nature within us, that we, all of us, keep adding to the conversation on the Facebook page. What has opened up for you, for me, that organic innocence that is my nature gets a place. And I've said for many years in this community, I came here looking for a place in this reality. And now it's, I'm creating my own reality, creating my own world that gives me a place. And that's for all of us.